Hello, today I'm going to talk a little bit about the differences between British and American English. There are quite a few, but please remember that it's still the same language. As much as we like to say, oh, is this British English or is this American English? It's all English. I kind of compare it to the difference between in Japanese, what, I don't know, Kanto Ben and Kansai Ben, different areas of Japan. It's still Japanese, but sometimes it's very different. The grammar rules are very similar. There are a few differences. Um, so, there are differences. Of course, I'm speaking British English, but even British English gets influenced by American English, American movies, Hollywood. Um, when I was growing up, we always called uh, how do you say? We always called trucks lorries. The British English for a truck is a lorry, a big vehicle carrying things. Well, that's a lorry. But recently we talk about trucks in Britain and the trucking industry. We don't call it the lorry industry. So, there's a bit of, yeah, there are differences, but sometimes they mingle together. And now with the internet, things do mix together. And even though Hollywood has been dominant and American movies and music has been very strong, sometimes British influence. For example, the Beatles, or more recently, I don't know. There's other bands that are more recent. Ed Sheeran, for example. So that can feed back into America. So it isn't a pure "this is American, this is British," but there are different influences all the time, and not only British and American. Of course, there are other types of English, Indian English, um, Australian English. There are more. But anyway, I'm today just focusing on these two, and I just want to show a few clear examples, common examples of the differences. Okay, first of all, I'm going to talk about spelling. There are some key spelling differences, and sometimes you'll see, and maybe in my textbooks, you'll see, you'll think, is that spelled right? Hopefully it is spelled right. But sometimes it's because it's British spelling, not American spelling. Here are some American spellings. Here's a word, color. What color do you like? I like blue. Color is American English. Do you know the British English? Let's see if I can write it in here. British English is with a U. Sorry. O-U-R. And there are many words like that. Color. Another one, flavor. In British English would be with a U. In American English, no U. Color, flavor, any of those O-U-R words. Can't think of any off the top of my head now, but there are many. Anyway, British English, O-U-R. American English, no U. American English, specialize. There are lots of eyes words, organize. And in American English, they use a Z, or Americans would say Z, British say Z. There's another difference. For that special sound of a Z sound. Now, in British English, we don't. We would spell that special eyes. So maybe it's harder in British English. You got an S, but you have to pronounce it with a Z sound because there's an E after it. So specialize. Pronounced exactly the same, by the way. Color, specialize, specialize. Anyway, but we do it in this. Other words like that. Organize, organize, organization. I can't think of other examples, but there you go. Another one, center, with an ER. In British English, we pronounce it the same, but it's spelled center, R-E, center. Another example of a word like that, theatre, in British English with a R-E, in American English, ER. Why is that? I'm not sure, but I think it comes from the French, centre, théâtre. So British have just kept the French spelling. Americans said, why are we doing that? Let's change it to simple as spelling. So there are lots of ER words like that. There are more examples of small differences. Advisor, in American English, advisor. Somebody who gives you advice, advisor, British English, advisor, things like that. So, why is that? I don't know. There's a history behind it, but you just have to learn the differences. I think if you're using spell check on any documents writing in English, it will revert to the American first, and it will tell you this British thing that's spelled wrong. You have to download the British spelling dictionary. Okay, so that's spelling. That's so easy. Sometimes there's vocabulary, quite a few vocabulary that's different. I've just got two examples here. In America, they'll talk about French fries. You have McDonald's burger and French fries, right? We don't say French fries in British English. We call them chips. So when you have fish and chips, it's fish and French fries. Although, to be fair, French fries are usually very thin. Chips are kind of thicker. But the key is they're fried potatoes, right? So fish and chips is fried potatoes and fish. Not. It gets confusing because in American English they talk about potato chips. Potato chips? Do they mean French fries? No. In British English, we would call those crisps. A packet of crisps, ready cooked that you can buy in the supermarket, thin. Yeah, British English crisps because they're very crisp to make them different from chips. Confused? I know it gets confusing. Maybe it's not important to know, but just to realize sometimes you'll be reading something and you'll think, I thought that was something, and actually it's something different. Just be aware. Finally, in pronunciation, I've noticed in American English there's a lot more D's and fewer T's. What do I mean? For example, my dream job would be to be a painter, or a writer. In British English, I'll say a writer. You can hear the T, writer, writer. If I write that down, a writer, a writer. Okay, British English, writer. American English, writer, writer. There's a kind of almost a D sound in there. They don't stress their T, writer. I want to be a painter. It's not exactly a D, but it's kind of dropped the T. Painter, 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 painter. I'm not good. Writer, painter. There are other differences, but that's a key one. If you can hear lots of T's when somebody's talking, I want to be a writer. I want to be a writer. I want to be a writer, British. I want to be a writer, American. Of course, with accents, there are many British accents and there are many American accents. So there isn't a standard, this is British accent, this is American accent. There's just sort of a general spectrum, a general shape. So anyway, these are some general rules about the difference between British and American English. Now, I have a few questions to ask you. Number one, have you come across differences between US and British English? Have you noticed any differences? Number two, does language make us different, or is there something else in our cultures that make us different? Ooh. So I think British people and Americans are a little bit different. Is that because of language or something else? If you think about Japanese and Americans are different. Japanese and British are different. Is that because of the language, or is it some other reason? Number three, is there an equivalent in Japanese to US versus British English? In other words, there are many kinds of English. Are there many kinds of Japanese, the language? Oh, difficult questions. Have a consideration. Think about all this. And good luck. Thanks for listening. See you again. Just turn this off. Okay.